All right, everybody. We are back for another night, Saturday Night Vibes. Make sure you guys hit that like, that thumbs up, and of course, subscribe to the channel that we don't miss out on any streams or content. Quick heads up, we're going to be getting into March Madness soon, so make sure that you guys lock it in. It's coming up. It's going to be great. It's going to be an exciting time. Looking forward to getting back into college basketball next week, so make sure that you do subscribe for it. I'll be streaming all week, March Madness until we get to the championship. With that said, everybody, shout out to the Rich Gang, shout out to the family. Much love to all the listeners, all the watchers. I do thank you for rocking with us tonight. Got a nice little show planned for you guys as we get into is sports or are sports rigged or scripted? Also, we'll get into some other stuff as far as the combine. We'll also get into some discussions as far as, standings and different things like that. So yeah, make sure you guys hit that like, hit that thumbs up as we get into it. Shout out to Tech713. What up, man? FSU edits. What's going on with you? How y'all doing tonight on a Saturday evening? So yes, what's it? March? Yeah, March 2nd. March 2nd. Feel like the months are flying by. We just literally got through February. With that said, shout out to Marble Sky. What's going on with you? How you doing tonight? I wanted to get into this quick story here. As Adam says, yes, Tom Grassi writes the scripts. Oh man, here we go. Already started. Shout out to D Tunza. What up, yo? What's going on with you? Ryan Devlin in the building. What up, Ryan? Let's go, man. So yeah, I wanted to get into Johnny Manziel. I wanted to get into that real quick. I wanted to start there. I think that this is good, right? This is one of those situations that people tend to forget about. People tend to forget about it and they say, well, it doesn't matter. Reggie Bush's time was over. And, obviously what he did wasn't right at the time and it was against the rules and he got his just due. Well, now, Johnny Manziel is advocating for him and, basically is backing Reggie Bush. He skips as he skips the Heisman honors and it's kind of interesting. I'm not going to say that obviously it's a bad thing, but I will say it's a little interesting, and we'll mine this out. We'll get into it, and then we'll understand where things are at. So let's get into this story. Johnny Manziel, the 2012 Heisman Trophy winner, said Saturday that he will not attend the annual Heisman Trophy ceremony until the NCAA returns former USC running back Reggie Bush's trophy, which was stripped from him following NCAA sanctions. Now, for the people that aren't aware as far as what happened with Reggie Bush, he obviously accepted gifts. This was forbidden at the time, and so they took his Heisman back once they did their own investigation and found that he had accepted gifts during this time. End quote, after careful thought and consideration, I'll be humbly removing myself from the Heisman Trophy ceremony until Reggie Bush gets his trophy back, end quote. Manziel posted on X. Doesn't sit right with my morals and values that he can't be on the stage with us every year. Reggie is the Heisman Trophy. Do the right thing, NCAA. The ball is in your court. Now, I think at some point it's kind of it's kind of true. I think at some point it's kind of true that at the end of the day, if the NCAA can't make a ruling to give this man back his Heisman after allowing all the NIL deals and allowing everything to happen, what's going on now, it is a little questionable. The real question is, who makes this decision, right? Who makes this decision, and is it a board decision? Is it obviously a careful consideration as far as from multiple people? Does it have to go through a different chain of events for it to happen, or is it someone that could just go in and say, all right, we'll go ahead and make this decision and just get people to sign off on it and go from there? Is it a vote is what I'm getting at. But we'll keep it going. It says Bush and USC each returned their copies of the 2005 Heisman Trophy after a 4-year NCAA investigation determined that during his Trojans career, Bush and his family accepted cash, travel expenses, and a home in the San Diego area where Bush's parents lived rent-free for more than a year and for which they were provided $10,000 to furnish from agents hoping to sign the star. Bush's NCAA sanctions were delivered in 2010, and they mandated that Bush dissociate from USC and included a 2-year postseason ban for the school. 14 vacated victories, including the 2004 BCS National Championship. This was a hell of a thing when it happened. For those who remember, for those who don't, this is absolutely a hell of a thing that happened. And the loss of 30 scholarships. 30 scholarships. So because of this one situation, this one event, it cost 30 people scholarships. Continues on to say his 10-year disassociation period ended in June 2020. In July 2021, on the day, name, image, and likeness NIL rights were granted to athletes by the NCAA, allowed them to profit in the same way Bush did, and he released a statement requesting his Heisman and NCAA statistics be reinstated, as they should, as they should. Because right now, if you give other players the same opportunity to go out there and essentially make money for their talents and for what they're doing, then you have to go back and look at how you took away from somebody else. And listen, we can veer off a little bit and get into just the world in a sense, right? We know that um, there's things that have been made legal that people have, had been arrested for and, have had long sentences for. And, now things are legal in that realm. And, is it right for those people to sit in a box because of, something that they did 20, 30 years ago and now that's legal? It's kind of interesting. It brings up a lot of different ways you can go about it for sure. But we'll get into the quote before we get into the chat with you guys, and we'll mine this out. It says, "It is my strong," end quote, "it is my strong belief that I won the Heisman Trophy solely due to my hard work and dedication on the football field. And it is also my firm belief that my records should be reinstated," Bush said. So there you go. There you go. My big thing is this. I think he's right in the sense of, hey, it's my hard work that earned me the Heisman, right? It wasn't anything that you guys did. It wasn't anything anybody else did. I didn't just have this trophy handed to me. I actually had to go out here and work for it. I had to go out here and put my talent on display and earn it, and which he did. And so for it to be taken away due to obvious reasons, um, obviously the NCAA does have that right because that was the rules. That was, the standard back then. But I think now is the time that, hey, make it right. Go back and give this man his statistics, which is very important, and give him his Heisman back. Give him his sense of pride back because, right now you've got people getting millions of dollars. You got people living in condos from USC, and it's a big slap in the face of Reggie Bush. So yeah, I definitely agree with Johnny Manziel. I do like that he's making a stand about it. And hopefully Reggie Bush can get his Heisman as well as his statistics put back within the NCAA. Let's go and get to some of these chat or these comments. Says once a game in our tournament. Shout out to you, FSU. What's going on with you, Ryan? Texas 13 Sports. Yeah, we'll get into that, bro. We'll get into that soon. Shout out to you, Texas 13. Derpy Entertainment says Tom Grassi indeed writes the scripts. Interesting. All right. Shout out to Ernie Brown. What up, yo? Ernie Brown says Johnny is right, especially with the money being paid now. How much did they make off that number 5 jersey? Oh yeah. I think the biggest thing is this. How much money was the NCAA making on college students in school and athletes in schools before the NI deals happened? I think that's very important. These colleges were making millions of dollars off these kids year after year, decade after decade, and it's just now they have a chance to go out there and make some money for their talents, and that's the reality of it. So give that man back what belongs to him. Shout out to Adam says, as a lifelong Bills fan, I have to believe it's scripted, or I have wasted 60 years of following my team. Adam, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Shout out to you, Shantae. What's going on with you, Shantae, in the house? Darren says, yo, what up? What up? Proud to be an official member. Let's go, Darren. Let's go. Members of the family coming through, showing the love. SEC and Big Ten run football, not NCAA. Well, you know, when it comes to these rules. Shante says, I remember when I heard about this. This is crazy. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, yeah. NCAA is FOS. USC seats 100K at their stadium at 40 a pop, so 4 million per game. They were always pros. Listen, and see, that's the kind of those are the kind of numbers that people don't really pay attention to, right? They love the players, they love the hype around it, they love the game, they love watching it on Sundays, Saturdays, whatever college football is on. They love the hype around these guys, they love what they do, but they didn't realize the amount of money that, these schools are making and some of these officials in the NCAA were making from these athletes. So yeah, obviously you guys know the story, you know the dilemma. I think the big point here is, Reggie Bush is due for his Heisman back as well as his statistics being placed back in the NCAA. I think it's only right, right? Um, Now that's not to say that it will happen, right? We want it to happen. It should happen, but we know that the powers be that be is the ones that control this kind of thing. So but I'm sure if enough people stand up and start making a true ruckus about it, then yeah. But I think you're gonna need. You're gonna need more than Johnny Manziel. You're gonna need more than just him. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Nintendo says it was illegal then, but now legal. You do 10 years in prison for a dime bag of weed. Did your time, but it's legit now. You get no time, but that person didn't get 10 years back of his life. And that's true, right? Because when we look at that situation and how it affected Reggie Bush, sure, yeah, he went to the NFL, and sure, he had a great career, and yeah, he made money. But still, having your Heisman taken away and having your statistics taken away, that still affects your legacy. That still affects your level of pride in what you did and everything that your blood, sweat, and tears that you put out on that field. So yeah, I think that that's what really people forget about sometimes as far as everything that he did and his life that he put out on the field and putting his life on the line. Uh, that goes into that trophy, you know, and I think that's really important. And I think people definitely need to start talking about it a little bit more. Um, because like I said, I do think he deserves it back for sure. Shout out to Ernie says, in facts, NCAA is semi-pro now. There's a ton of money now, ton of money in NCAA. It's crazy. It's crazy. Uh, Shante says, "Hey Jay, did you hear that? Allegedly, Travis Kelsey got arrested for drug charges. I didn't hear about that. I did not. Um, I mean, I could try to Google it before we get into our next segment. The next segment is going to be our sports rig. I want to talk about this, but let me see if what's going on here. Shante says, Travis Kelsey arrested. Let's see. You know how news is sometimes. You gotta verify things because in multiple different sources for sure. It says false reports circulate that Kansas City Chiefs star has been arrested on drug charges. Over the last few days, there have been some viral videos claiming Kelsey was arrested. One false report indicated that he had been arrested in Vegas after a drunken encounter. I guess it's false. So yeah, it was a rumor, but it's false. So yeah, shout out to you, Shante. Quick shout out to Adam coming through with the $6.99 super chat donation. Says, love your content. Buy a coffee on me. Thanks a lot, Adam. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. I will buy a coffee on you, my friend, and I will enjoy it. And I do thank you for your love and support. Shout out to you, Adam. Shout out to you, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next segment. The next segment. Before I get there, this is LBJ. First to 40,000 points. Go, James. Let's go. 40,000. Yeah, we got to cover that. That's huge. Richard Sherman got his second DUI. No one cares. Laugh out loud. Just kidding. Oh, people care. People care. Um, we'll talk about this for a minute before we get into the next segment. So yeah, we posted up the Richard Sherman. I think I put it in a community chat, and we're just talking about it. I think the problem is this: when we have athletes, entertainers, public figures, whatever, I think there's a certain kind of stigma that goes into how we not only look up to these people, um, but how we have our expectations for them, right? And I'll say that to say this. I think it's more so it's become more relaxed over the last maybe like decade, right? We've had some like weird shift in society, and I think it happened within like the last 10 years where back in the day, like if your hero did something, it was huge. It was the worst thing ever that happened. It was plastered everywhere. People were freaking out. And it's like now when someone does something, it's kind of like, well, all right, hey, it is what it is. Um, and I'll say that in the point of when you're a kid, at least when I think we were kids, and I say we as in like from millennials back, right? When we were kids, we looked up to certain people, and if the people did something wrong, it felt weird. It felt like oh, we looked up to them, and why would they do this? What this isn't who I know who you are, right? And the difference is when social media came about, it opened the eyes to everybody, and it showed who everybody was on a daily basis. Every move that they make, every decision that they make, uh, and even them themselves were telling everybody what the hell they were doing because it was kind of like, well, hey, I need to post that I'm taking a damn shower at 2 o'clock in the morning on social media because people just need to know that. And when you move that way, you open yourself up to scrutiny. So now when you have a situation of, hey, this person gets arrested for a DUI or this person gets arrested for whatever, anything, it's going to be brought up, even if they're outside of the game, you know, years retired, it's still things that are going to be brought up because that's just, the way that society is right now. So it sucks. But once again, the way that news works, you forget about in 2 days. It's hot today. In 2 days, it'll be gone, my friend. In 2 days, it'll be gone. If this was a different channel, I'd bring up some crazy stuff. Some crazy stuff. I'm not gonna bring it up, but in the last week, I probably seen. All right, I'm gonna bring it up, but I'm gonna need you to read between the lines because I'm not trying to go there. All right, I'm gonna need some of you to read between the lines because I'm not trying to go there. But in the last week, I probably seen one of the worst videos I've seen in a long, long time, and I've seen some bad stuff. Inadvertently, just because it's floating around or someone sent me something crazy. But I seen this crazy video in the last week, and it reminded me of some stuff that was going on years ago. And I hope some of you who are listening know where I'm going with this. But it reminded me of some stuff that was going on years ago, and it's kind of crazy because we now, like I said, we're now in this society where I can hop in front of a camera and I can do something absolutely insane, and it'll not only be talked about, but I can be used as a mortar. And we didn't have that 20 years ago. We didn't have that 30 years ago. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm going to keep going, though. I'm not going to get into that. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, the next segment that I want to talk about is sports rigged? Are sports scripted? Right? I feel like we talk about this, we hear about it time and time again, and it's never a it's never a clear cut answer, right? People will design this and say that, and you'll see a video and this, that, and the third. But I think there's like this real issue right now going on with the scripting and the rigging and the propaganda behind it. And I say that because of this. When you watch sports, what are you watching sports for? Are you watching to see your favorite player, your favorite team? Do you still get entertained by just watching the game, bringing family and friends over, ordering pizza, wings, subs, whatever you do? You come together, you enjoy the experience with your family, your friends, or are you watching the game because you got a 16 leg parlay that you just put $2 on and you think you're going to win $100,000? These are the dynamics that need to be understood when we get into these conversations, whether or not sports are rigged. Now, obviously, we know that there has been certain refs. We know there's been certain situations that have been influenced by money, right? We know players that have been influenced by money. We get that. But I think the overall scheme as far as the conversation now was so driven by people who are disgruntled and upset because they've either lost money or they didn't hit their 16 or 8 leg parlay or whatever the hell it is. But it has to do with money, right? And that's the sad part about the whole thing because I really had to sit back and think about this. Whenever I do a stream now, especially football, whenever I do a stream now, it starts depending on who's winning. And I'll say this: I went back. I went back and looked at some of my old streams. If it was a more popular team like a Chiefs, my Bills, Packers, um, I mean, you could probably even get into like the Vikings, even the Lions now, right? Chargers. I noticed that whenever they started losing in the game, the uptick for the word script or rigged increased. So my question was why? You know what? Why is this happening? And so then, as I'm going back through the comments and as I'm going back through and reading the chat, because it's still all there, it doesn't go anywhere, it's still all there. I'm seeing, hey, Jay, who do you got for the over? Jay, what's the over? Jay, what's the under? What's the current live money line? So listen, I think if sports are rigged, the people who bet money have made it that way. I think the people who don't put money into the game, who actually watch the game to enjoy it, who actually love to watch sports just to watch sports and have a good time and enjoy themselves, I don't think they give a damn whether or not the game is rigged because they're enjoying the game. The big thing that I see as far as with people who say so much in regards to rigging and scripted is because they either bet or have bet on the game and lost money. You never hear this is the big thing for me. You never hear the person who won money say the game is rigged. You never hear the person whose team just won the game say the game is rigged or scripted. It's always the losing party. So at what point, right, does the talk of the rigging or the scripted stop? It's a question. It's a real question. Shout out to you, Darren. Let's go, bro. Shout out to Purple. Let's go, Purple in the house. Let's go. Ernie says, "I feel like yes, but the fan in me says no. Go back and look at that Lakers versus Sacramento back in the day. Kobe fouled right to the dome of Bibby, no foul. Once again, I'm not saying right. And before we go further, make sure you guys hit that like, hit that thumbs up. I do appreciate the support. I'm not saying that certain elements and certain parts of the game are not rigged, because we know whenever you have money involved in anything, right? There's a level of influence that creates. So yeah, you may have a rogue ref that has been incentivized by money. You may have a player that's incentivized by money. We've seen this situation over the years, right? Not even year, decades. So the real question is, why has have we seen the uptick of the conversation now, right? Why do we keep seeing rigged now? Why do we keep seeing scripted now? You didn't see it 10 years ago. You didn't see it 5 years ago. Maybe three, right after the situation in 2020. I think that's when it really, really started to pick up. Well, Jay, why would that be? Well, that's the same time that all the online sports books got their license to be in different states. So as the time goes on, you start seeing this narrative being pushed how games are rigged and games are scripted. But once again, you don't hear this from the winners. You hear this from the losers. And I'll tell you this, we'll break it out even further. Even the big time betters, right? The guys who make millions of dollars, they don't ever come out and say the game is rigged. Why is that? Why is that? It's a real question. Shout out to Adam, since people don't understand how bookies made their money. They don't care who wins in team sports. So the funny thing about this is I was actually um I was actually having a conversation with Frank, my buddy Franklin, and we were talking about, things being rigged and scripted and things like that. And I basically said this. I said, "All right." He said, "Why is it that Vegas always knows?" That was his statement. He said, "Why does Vegas always know?" And I said, "Well, Vegas always knows because they understand. They have all the information to make the decision." So when I say that, right, we're not talking from a point of, oh, all right, well, we just know that Texas Tech and Kansas is playing tonight. No, Vegas understands from top to bottom everything that happens on this court. Even before these players step out on the court, they know who was sick, they know who was injured, they know who's walking with a little limp because they may have twisted their ankle last game. They know all the finite details, all the little stupid shit that people don't think about. Vegas knows. So that's why they're able to make these lines and be, oh, it's, this team by 15, and they just so happen to end up winning by 18. They know that stuff and they compile all that information. And now it's even worse because everything's done by AI. So now they compile all this information that's done through computer models, and the computer's looking at past history, it's updating with current events, and then you have your line set, you have your prop bets, you have everything set and how Vegas wants it when it comes to betting on these games. Now, sure, you throw in an incentive to a ref, you throw in an incentive to a player, then yeah, you have a situation where things can be a little questionable and be weird because someone misses a penalty or someone creates a penalty when they shouldn't have, or you have a player who just has a bad night, even though he's been great for the last 2 weeks. That's the stuff that makes people think it's rigged. But when we talk about the whole scheme of things, when we talk about every sport, right? Because people love to, well, it's football. It's just football. No, no, it's not college at all. Well, if NFL's rigged, well, college is rigged too. If NFL football is rigged, then college football is rigged. And if NBA basketball is rigged, then so is college basketball. To hell, college wrestling is rigged then. Because when you have that conversation, when you start going down that path, well, you just have to say that everything is. You can't specifically sit here and tell me, well, Jay, yeah, the NFL is rigged and it's scripted and just in entirety, and not tell me that college isn't as well. It has to make sense from a grand scheme of things, and that's why, to me personally, it's not in the sense of the whole conglomerate is scripted or rigged. I think that yes, you do have certain individuals who can influence certain plays, who can influence certain penalties when they have their moment. Now, that's not to say that there's any individual out here doing that because we don't know. If we did know, there's some real shit going on. But we don't know. That's why we're having the conversation. That's why people talk about it. But I will say that I do believe that there are people who can influence things and people who can, change narratives based on um, last minute play designs. For instance, and you guys know I preach about this all the time. When we talk about, certain teams getting down to a certain point in the fourth quarter, right? You played a shitty game all game and you played absolutely terrible. And now, you're down by 2 points. Well, now you're putting the game in the ref's hands because if you're up by a touchdown, well, then guess what? You probably don't have to worry about it as much unless you're going against somebody like Patrick Mahomes. But when you have a game against the Lions and the Cowboys and it's a 2 point game and you have a situation to where everything that Jared Goff is being looked at to get down the field from the refs, guess what? If someone is influenced by money and they have made that kind of deal, then yeah, you may see a ridiculous penalty called or a flag that was thrown that shouldn't be thrown. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's a lot to break it down to. It's way more than just coming on a damn camera and saying, "Oh, it's all rigged. It's all scripted. I lost my parlay last week." No, if it's scripted, prove that it's scripted from the top to the bottom because everybody would have to be involved. Everybody, from from Roger Goodell to the executives to the coaches, players, cheerleaders, the water boys, everybody would have to be involved if the whole damn thing is scripted. So you mean to tell me that thousands of players and then tens of thousands of players, especially in college, everybody's scripted, right? We have to make sense of this situation. I'm fine with sitting here and saying that, yeah, I believe that there's certain individuals that are influenced and certain things going on for money. But just to come out and say that the whole thing's scripted, I think that's asinine, and I think it's something that people are just lazy, just talking shit about, to be honest. But let me get into some of these comments. Let me go back here. Let me go back here. Robert says, in my opinion, the NFL definitely has teams that wants to win because it's more revenue. I think the NFL has meetings with referees about how to call the game. It's so easy to call a holding penalty on any play. Um, Robert, you're right. But I think that the big thing that most people don't realize too is every team holds. People don't realize that all 32 teams hold. So could you imagine if the refs actually called every flag or every penalty they were supposed to? How long that damn game would take? Every team holds. Offensive line, defensive line, they're holding every play. And so it's up to the ref to make a decision as far as which is more egregious than the other. Go back and look at the tapes. Go back and look at the games. They all hold. The ref just makes a decision as far as which one he's going to throw the flag on because it's looks worse than others. It's the reality of it. Shout out to Jalen says the average football or sports bet for an individual is $4 according to Forbes magazine. Uh, I mean, first off, I don't agree with that shit at all, and I'll tell you why. Forbes magazine gets money way off, even when it comes to actors and entertainers' net worth. They'll say somebody's worth $200 million, when in all reality, these people are worth, half a billion or close to it. I think, Forbes has gets their information and tries to just piece things together, but I'd be very surprised if the average football or sports bet was $4. It just doesn't make sense. Really doesn't. Shout out to you, Omar. What up, Omar? What up, man? Omar in the house. Jules T says, thank you for tackling this topic. Your analysis of the problem makes so much sense. Thanks a lot, Jules T. Yeah. Yeah, man. Robert says it isn't fake like the WWE. The referees make the calls. That's a fact. Shout out to Adam says they set the line to get balanced betting. If the money goes heavy on one side, they just move the line. And listen, that's no different from the stock market, right? It's been like a really crazy week in the stock market. And it's the same thing. When they see that everybody's piling their money, if it's a bull run, eventually they have to correct the market, right? They have to make sure that, the algorithm sells off stocks and then levels things out the way they should be. But, nothing just goes straight up like in the stock market. You got, up and down, up and down, up and down. And so it's the same thing when Vegas sees that, all right, everybody's betting on the Lakers for this game. All right, so now, and that's why you'll see once you get closer, if the the lines are 6.5, right? Lakers by 6.5. You'll see that change before the game. Oh, now it's dropped by a point, so now it's 5.5. That's them, adjusting that because of where the money is and how much money's piling up. Shout out to you, Adam. Darren says, yeah, WWE. I don't know. I may be tripping for real, because how Drew McIntyre win the Elimination Chamber. Shout out to you, Darren. Robert says, when you see instant replays that stint overturned, they're obviously called wrong. That is what makes me think the referees are doing it. So, listen, I think my big thing, and you guys know, we get into these discussions and midstream. Why the hell are the refs huddling up together? Right? It's always that kind of conversation. Like, why the hell are refs like you threw the flag? You weren't sure of what it was. So why are you huddled up with five other refs now discussing this when you threw the flag? You should know what the call is. You should know what the penalty is. You should know who it's on before you throw the flag. Instead of throwing the flag and now you're having a conversation with five people to either confirm or change what the hell it is. It's interesting, bro. It really is. It really is. Ernie says the fourth quarter of the NBA is the only quarter to watch, but if it was rigged, would Denver ever win a ring? It's interesting, man. It's interesting. Robert says, you are right, Jay. The players aren't in on it. Someone would blab. It's the referees. Listen, it's just what makes sense, right? And even like it's hard to say makes sense because this is way above and beyond any of us as far as what we're talking about. But the reality is there's too many players, right? And you'll see like you'll see certain people who will, go on a podcast now and they'll just, talk a little shit. And oh yeah, they made all this money in the NFL, and then now all of a sudden they got something to say about how games are, potentially rigged. Well, it's like you didn't say shit when you were making $20 million over 10 years, or how much ever you made, and now you're saying that the game's rigged because you're out and you're not making any more money, or you're just trying to generate controversy. Listen, it's a big, big business, and a lot of people don't understand this. There is a huge business in conspiracies. There's a huge business in stirring up shit. There is a huge, huge. It's a very big money maker for a lot of people. Um, that will just go out and find, different issues and different conspiracies and different things to talk about, because it gets people going, it gets people talking, it gets people riled up, and there's a lot of people who are making money just on the fact that sports are rigged. Like that's all they talk about. They'll break down plays. They'll go through frame by frame. They'll say, "Look at what this did, and look at what the ref did, and oh, look at this player not being tackled." All that stuff, right? And when they're doing that, they're creating this in your mind, right? They're creating that atmosphere. So now you're doing it, and now you're like, "Oh shit, let me break this down, and let me look into this. Oh yeah, he's right about that." And now that's you every damn Sunday. Instead of enjoying the damn game because someone put it into your head that the whole NFL is scripted, now you're sitting there on the Sunday looking at the hash marks in people's feet because of what somebody said. And it's crazy. Me personally, I would just like to get back to enjoying the game. right? And I think that's why we had the conversation weeks ago. I was like, listen, I don't want to talk about the game being scripted or rigged during the game, um, because it takes away from the atmosphere. It takes away from the vibe. To me, it's no different from people like spoiling the game or calling the play before I call it. It's one of those situations where it creates a negative atmosphere, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not saying that people can't feel the way they want to feel. I can't say people can't say what they want to say. What I'm saying is, for me personally, it just creates a negative atmosphere because I love sports. I love calling sports. I love doing commentary. I enjoy the time that I spend with you guys when I do stream the sports, and that's not the realm that I ever want to go down in, right? Even with this conversation that we're having now in regards to it being scripted, um, it was more so in the sense of, hey, let's take a step back from feeding into the whole scripted thing and rig thing, and let's really understand why people are saying it so much. Because, like I said, when you start to understand as far as why and the propaganda behind saying it's rigged and scripted, then it starts to make more sense to you as far as the narrative and why it's become such a thing now than what it was years ago. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that before we get into our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. Let me hop into these chats. Hop into these chats. Says the most fixed sport is soccer. Asian betting is insane. You just need to get the goaltender. Really? That's interesting. I've never heard that about soccer. Omar says Forbes sucks. Sports Archive says Forbes don't know anything. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Randy says why anyone watches the NFL is beyond me, as it has become WWE. It is so obvious that it is rigged. I mean, Randy, is it obvious? Right? At what point is it obvious? Right? Is it because we've seen Taylor Swift and she started dating Travis Kelsey and all this other stuff? Because I guess this is the question too. Let's say that Taylor Swift started dating Josh Allen and the Bills had the same outcome that they had. Is it rigged then? Right? Or let's say they go on to win a Super Bowl then. Is it still rigged then? At what point are we taking away from the players' work ethic and their talent and the blood, sweat, and tears that they put on the field because we're saying the game's rigged? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Shout out to Adam says they use a loser to pay the winners. Keep it going. All right. Justin Fields is looking for a new home. A little random, but I wanted to say it. Shout out to you, Verbal. Yeah. Someone said the Steelers, and I'm not too sure about that. But somebody said the Steelers, which is kind of crazy. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Robert says when you look at the 2018 championship game between the Rams and the Saints, no call and pass interference, how can you conclude it wasn't rigged? Um, Once again, was it just that one ref that made the call? Right? Did he have his money on the Saints or the Rams? Right? There's so much that goes into that. I mean, hell, we even know, right? We know that players have gotten in trouble for betting on teams and games. And it brings me back to another story. Some of you may remember this, but the guy that stole like $20 million from the Jags, he worked for the Jags. He was a part of some program, and he ended up, siphoning $20 million from the Jaguar customers in regards to this credit card. Now you got someone that has some kind of in with an NFL team, the Jaguars, right? This guy blew damn near $20 million on sports bets. that he stole from the Jaguars. You mean to tell me this guy couldn't figure out what the rig was or where it was scripted? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The man had $20 million and he lost 90% of it on sports betting. Now, I know the 90% could be, bullshit, but the reality is he did lose a ton of money in regards to sports betting. And this is someone that had a connection with the Jaguars. So, like I said, when we have that conversation, is it about the game itself or is it about individuals? And I think that's where we got to leave it. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get into this other story here. What do we got? What do we got? What do we have? We have nope, not there. Not there. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Come on, Jay, get it together. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I wanted to talk about this here. Mr. Xavier Worthy ran a 4.2140, fastest ever at an NFL combine. Ladies and gentlemen, Xavier Worthy saved the best for last. Worthy, the final player to run a 40-yard dash during Saturday's on-field workouts for wide receivers and quarterbacks at the NFL Scouting Combine, ran an official 4.21 seconds to set a combine record, according to the NFL. Worthy's time makes him the annual event's unquestioned speed king and was a tick of the stopwatch better than Washington wide receiver John Ross, 4.22 at the 2017 Combine. Only the offensive linemen are left to run at this year's Combine and Sunday's session. End quote. I just broke the record. It still doesn't feel real, Worthy said. Man, just a blessing to be able to do this in front of all these fans with all these peers I'm with, end quote. The Fresno, California native ran a 4.25 on his first attempt and briefly took off his shoes as if he would not run the second attempt. But after a few moments, Worthy laced up his bright orange shoes again and lined up as the final player with the crowd in Lucas Oil Stadium urging him on. When he crossed the finish on his second run, as 4.22 flashed on the stadium's video boards, later bumped down to 4.21 on the official clock, the crowd roared. The crowd roared. Someone said that was a rigged 40. So listen, Xavier Worthy, right? Out of Texas, wide receiver. Where is this kid going? Where is this kid going? So I think the problem is this, right? You've got the speed, you look good. The problem is the problem that Mr. Xavier Worthy is gonna have is weight. He's on the thinner side, and at wide receiver, that speed is fine. We love speed. But can you catch that ball? Can you take a hit? And can you keep going? I think that's going to be the big thing in regards to what happens with Worthy. He looks great, right? He plays at an elite level. But once you get to the NFL, them guys are hitting different. Them guys are hitting different. So it's going to be interesting to see how Worthy does. I like him, not just for the speed, but I think he's a great player. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I definitely wanted to do some research on him. So yeah, it's good to see this for him. I'm glad that he now holds the record, but we're really gonna have to see what he does and who he goes with. I did see some information earlier as far as potentially something somewhere like Kansas City that could be cool. But yeah, Xavier Worthy breaking records and now has the NFL combine for the 40 at 4.21, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Shout out to Robert says the 40 time was sick. Yeah, man, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I haven't seen speed like that since B.O.B. Hayes played. Rolling, few of them boys were Hunter. Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. You know who I was looking at when it came to the combine? I was really looking at Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. There was obviously like, certain players who, didn't want to work out and all that kind of stuff. But Bo Nix, I was hoping I could definitely see him. Um, Another one was let me pull that up here. I think it Bowers? I have my list here. Hold on. Put my list back up. Yeah, Bowers. So I wanted to see Bowers, but obviously we know that, he's going to be high up in the draft. So he didn't participate, which I mean, everyone knows Brock Bowers is a hell of an athlete right now, and he's going to be great out of Georgia. He's done nothing but balled out. I think I called this man's name so many times when we were streaming the Bulldogs game that um, people definitely seeing how great he's going to be, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the league. So yeah, we didn't get to see Brock Bowers, but Jatavian Sanders, he ran a 4.69. Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State ran a 4.68. He had a 40-inch vertical jump. His broad jump was 10'6". And then Cade Stover, he ran a 4.65, 34 and a half on the vertical jump, and then 9'8" on the broad jump. Some of the tight ends that we'll be looking forward to as far as the draft, which I will be streaming. So make sure you guys lock it in. But yeah, yeah, and then obviously with the wide receiver, or sorry, with the running backs. The running backs, you had Trey Benson out of Florida State. Then you had Bucky Irving, Blake Corum from Michigan, obviously, who I like the kid. Michigan was different this year. Um, we looked at what Washington was able to do, and unfortunately, Penix, I don't think he was ready, so it's going to be weird to see where he falls. There's going to be a lot of craziness going on in the draft. I'm excited for it. Definitely excited for it for sure. Also, what do we got? I think we had one more thing that I wanted to get into. Oh yes, Joe Milton, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Milton threw for 70 yards. The man was dropping bombs out there. He was dropping bombs out there. He looked good. So another one, he's out of Tennessee. Joe Milton out of Tennessee, might want to check him out as well. He was there at the combine throwing bombs. So yeah, definitely exciting times. I do think this is going to be an interesting draft class. I do think it's going to be a good. I'm not sure about great yet, but I'm going to say a good draft class. So yeah, I'm excited to get to the draft, and it's going to be a good time. Definitely going to be a good time. Darren says if only John Ross could have stayed healthy. Yeah, man. What did Randy Moss run it in? Randy Moss 40 time. 40 time. Randy run 4.25. 4.25, my friend. A bunch of little drills aren't going to change what's on tape or account for Bill's determination. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, there's more than a few people that didn't go to the combine that knew that they were going to be in the first round, and without question. So, it is good to see people put their skills on for show, but there was a few people that obviously didn't want to go because they didn't want to get knocked down in the draft too. So there's multiple sides to it, and I get it. You want to protect your draft class because that's your money. That's how your career is going to be starting with the NFL. So yeah, you don't have to, but it's good to see some of those guys out there for sure, for sure. Caleb Williams opted out of the physical. What do you think about him as a quarterback, Jay? I'll tell you this. I think the problem with Caleb Williams is the narrative, right? The negative narrative around decision making, right? And I'm not going to go as far as saying a diva because I'll be honest with you, if I had an opportunity to play in the NFL, I probably wouldn't want to play for the Bears either. It's no hate on the Bears. I'm just saying that right now they don't have the team that I think that I would be able to go out and win with, and I think that's where Caleb Williams is right now, right? maybe he doesn't want to play there. We've seen other quarterbacks do this, so it's not a big thing. But I will say this: I think Caleb Williams is being probably a little bit more vilified than normal because of the way he's went about it, and because he's made it such an issue and the things that he said, and some of the quotes that we've heard. I think that's the problem. And when we talk about on-field play, I think Caleb is an average quarterback. I don't think he's anything truly special. Like we've seen him have his good moments, and then we've seen him look like dog shit. But I think, for the most part, I think he's an average quarterback. I think that he could become good. But when we talk about first round picks and things like that, I would expect to see an elite caliber quarterback, right? You know this individual is going to be great when they step out of the NFL field, and they can potentially do that with any team. And I don't see that with Caleb Williams, unfortunately. Unfortunately, just the reality of it. Do you see the quarterbacks strong arms? Yeah, man, without a doubt. Darren says facts. I would want to play for the Bears too. Adam says Tom Grassi ran the 40 at the combine. He is auctioning off the cleats for charity. That's cool. Yeah, shout out to Tom. What was his time? Y'all know I'm gonna talk my shit. I definitely would have ran faster than Tom. I know I'm faster than Tom. Matter of fact, Tom, we can have a race. I'm down for it. And we can donate the proceeds to charity for the donations. I'm down for that. If anybody want to get a hold of Tom, set it up. I'll fly out to wherever he want to fly out at, and we can race. D says off topic. What college team are you covering for March Madness? It's gonna vary. I mean, from Monday through Friday, we'll be on it, and then obviously as the teams break down, the 64, 32, or like once we get through with all that, just whatever's on that night. So that's what I'll be covering. Darren says, y'all see the 49ers interested in Frank Gore Jr. Really? I didn't see that. Frank Gore, he's Hall of Fame. He's what is he, top four in yards? Top four? Something like that. It'd definitely be great to see him make the Hall of Fame for sure. Because I think he'll definitely be there 100%. He's got the yards, he's got the accolades for it. Um, I think he was an asset to majority of the teams that he played to for sure, without a doubt. Yeah, Rodney. Go ahead and set it up. Set it up. Set it up. What did I have left? Did we cover everything? We did the Manziel thing. We talked about Xavier Worthy. We talked about the scripting. Oh yeah, all right, we good. So yeah, we just chopping it up. We just chopping it up. He has the effects of COVID. Yeah, he got he was there. Yeah, he had COVID. That's right. Yeah, Gore was a beast for sure, for sure. So no, that's cool with Tom. Yeah, y'all know I respect Tom. Tom was definitely one of the individuals that motivated me to go out there and be great, and get in front of this camera and do what we do over here. Um, it's definitely great what he does for the community, and without a doubt, I appreciate his competitiveness because it puts me into a realm of keep going and keep grinding for sure. So shout out to Tom. Dutenzo says lots of lower seeds winning today. Listen, when I heard Kansas got knocked off, I was like, wow. But yeah, we're definitely gonna get into college. Like I said, Monday we're starting strong, or during that week we're starting strong, and then we're back. We're back for March, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have not, make sure you hit that like, hit that thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel. Click that bell and turn on your notifications because it's going to get crazy. It's what it's all about. It's what it's all about. Adam says Chad Kelly is in big trouble. He may lose his job with the CFL Argos. Really? It's interesting. Have to check that out. Shout out to you, Purple. Yeah, no problem, Omar. Shout out to you, bro. Can't wait for March Madness. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's like you have all this time. We do a lot with football, obviously. Um, NBA too, but March Madness is just special. March Madness is like there's nothing like two solid college basketball teams, 2-point game, 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like it's just a different feeling. Like we get the vibe off of like college football and all that. It's just as good. But I've always been a basketball man, so like the basketball just resonates in my soul a little bit more. But yeah, it's always a fun time. I enjoy it. We always have a good time for March Madness, so make sure you guys are here, and we'll get started with that next week, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, 10 o'clock on a Saturday. Do you know where your children are? Make sure you guys hit that like, that thumbs up. Much love to the Wrench Gang. Much love to the family, all the listeners, all the watchers. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you guys lock it in. I will see you all soon. Enjoy your Sunday and have a good night. Peace out.